YouTube community, Beatles fans, random people on the internet. My name is Giggens, and we are here today to talk about the new Beatles song, Now and Then. It's 2023, and I'm talking about a brand new Beatles song. This is mind-blowing. Obviously, we've known about this for years. It finally just came out the other day, a few days ago, as the time of making this video. And the excitement behind it has been huge. When it first got mentioned that this song was coming out, some of the people in the music industry kind of dropped the terms AI, and everyone went, an AI Beatles song. Nope. Just to clear the air right off the bat, an AI program called Mal, which was kind of loosely based on Mal Evans, but invented by Peter Jackson's team, used this AI-esque technology to basically take John's voice and his piano and separate the two out of that one track that was his cassette demo that was given to the Beatles in the 90s. And they worked on this track in the 90s for literally a couple of days, maybe an afternoon, before it was deemed basically too hard to work with. They'd done Free as a Bird, they'd done Real Love. Now and Then was the next song, and they also had Grow Old With Me, but that had come out already on Milk and Honey. So Now and Then was kind of the next track to use. It was going to be the first track in Anthology 3. And they started working on it, but they couldn't get John's voice separated enough from the piano. It was too murky. It just wasn't the quality that they were, wasn't their thing. They couldn't put out a sort of half-baked idea of a song. It's the Beatles. With Free as a Bird and Real Love, they did a good job of getting his voice separated as much as they could from the original one-track cassette. And it would be interesting to hear them go back and redo those songs with the current programming that they have now. If they can redo some of the vocal bits in Free as a Bird and Real Love, that would be pretty interesting. Anyways, they spent an afternoon working on Now and Then. And thought, it's not going to work. It's not going to happen. George and Paul played guitars, and they did a little bit of vocals. Ringo did the drums, and they kind of left it at that. And George had a couple of interesting words to say, but the tape itself, the quality of the tape itself, effing rubbish, which I think is really funny. And, over the years, we knew about Now and Then popping up here and there. It'd come up in conversations about the Beatles. Once in a while, Paul would mention it. And over the years, he was kind of like, well, I'm going to finish it. I'm going to finish it. And here we are. It kind of came out of nowhere. And there's nothing better to be blindsided by than a new Beatles song. And it is a new Beatles song. It's the four of them working together, and obviously not at the same time, but elements of the Beatles that we haven't heard together before to create something new have happened. And this will be the last track that ever comes out. Now, a lot of you watching might say, what about Carnival of Light? Carnival of Light, yes. For those of you who don't know, in the early 67, Paul got asked to put some music together for a club that was opening. And he kind of got the guys together for a half hour, and they just bonked around making zany sounds and tapping on random things, making this avant-garde piece of music, if you want to call it that. It's not really a song. It's the Beatles just kind of jamming and bouncing around the studio, making wacky sounds. So it's not really a song. Will we ever hear it? Who knows? Paul's wanted to come out for years, but this will be the next best thing. And what I like about Now and Then is that it sounds like the Beatles now. It sounds like them now. I definitely get a very Egypt Station Paul era feel, especially with the pianos. I definitely get a little bit of that, I don't know, off Egypt Station with the piano. One thing I do want to mention is I don't know why, they separated John's voice from the piano. Why didn't they also have him play the piano on the track? Why did they completely erase his piano part? That way he could have been performing on the song as well. That would have been awesome to have him play piano on the song. So I don't know about that. As far as George's contributions go, it sounds like he played the acoustic guitar, and according to the liner notes of the record, electric guitar as well, maybe some vocals. But they flew in bits of Because and Here, There, and Everywhere to sort of fill in an atmosphere of background vocals on the track itself to kind of just flesh it out some more, which is cool. But it would have been even cooler to just have new vocals from Paul and Ringo harmonizing together and just do that. So this track, while I think it's fantastic, there's things that I think a lot of fans would have been like, oh, why did you do that? You could have done that. You could have done that. But that's any music ever. Anyways, the track itself like I said, it's fantastic. And hearing John's voice so clean and so direct after hearing that demo for so many years, it's so special to have his voice shine through. Like, oh, there he is again. There's John. There's Paul. There's George. There's Ringo. They're together again. How exciting. Because I remember when Free as a Bird and Real Love came out, I was a kid. And I had been a Beatles fan for a couple of years at that point. But when the anthology series came out on TV, it was like the best thing in the world. And, you know, we got the CDs and we got to hear these new Beatles songs. And at the time, you know, that was the first new Beatles tracks in 25 years. And now it's been about 25 years again. So every 25 years, a new Beatles song should come out. So in 25 years, Carnival of Light should come out. Paul did a really great George-esque solo on here, which I also think is funny because when they were doing the anthology stuff, Paul was a little about George doing his solo on, I think it was Free as a Bird, thinking it would sound too much like a George solo track. But once he heard it, he was like, oh, yeah, that is the Beatles. So it's really cool that he had that realization and wanting something like that as well for Now and Then. I love that he paid homage to George like that. And going back to John's voice, I really appreciate that it was a demo from John. It wasn't something fleshed out that he had like fully finished, because vocally he has voice cracks. And that rawness, that honesty, that vulnerability benefits the super clean production that the song has. You get a little bit more of a raw honesty vocally, and I think that really helps take the polish off the song, if you will. Not that it's overproduced or something, but it's nice to have that nakedness, because John was good about that with his voice. The bass on this thing doesn't necessarily strike new ground. It's kind of just there as the background, which is kind of nice because it lets the strings shine. It lets John take center stage for sure. But I love Ringo's drumming on this song. He does a lot of different stuff. He does some snare hits, or some rim snare hits, which is pretty cool, which he hasn't done a whole lot of in the Beatles' career, so that's kind of new. The cymbal work is fantastic. That's kind of a staple of Ringo's playing these days, the bell work on the cymbal. And his fills are classic Ringo. It just feels so great to hear that. The string arrangement, like I said before, is very 66 to 68 Beatles. It definitely has a Magical Mystery Tour-esque feel to it, White Album kind of feel. But I like that. It definitely gives it a little bit of that, a bit of the past, but it's still new at the same time. And jumping into the choruses, like if you've heard the demo, the song is a little different than the released version. What John was doing, the demo is different. And there's been fan mixes already, so you can kind of hear what they would it sound like if the song had been completed the way John had done it originally. But I like the choruses on this version because it's a little bit cheery. It's still kind of like in its feels, but it's a little cheerier than the verses. And it's funny because like musically, the song is very melancholy. It's a little down on itself, but it's hopeful. And lyrically, it's very optimistic. So again, that juxtaposition is fantastic because like the words are like pretty optimistic, but the music is not so much. So there's that blending of feelings as you might be going through a hardship, or like just realizing someone's there for you. Like that can be an overwhelming feeling. It's a track that sounds like the Beatles now. And I know that was said during the anthology era, but that was then, and it worked. And here we are now, and it still works. And as I'm recording this video, Now and Then has just gone to #1 in the UK, and I'm hoping it's the same for America. This happens to be the Target Red version, and I'll show you what that looks like here. This is the insert that it comes with. So just track information, who plays what, you know, the Beatles. And some information about the making of the song. Not too in-depth, but just enough to whet your appetite, if you will. As the 12-inch version. So here we go. Side A with the Apple logo, Now and Then. And this plays at 45 speed, for those wondering. And the Parlophone logo for Love Me Do on the back, a 2023 remix of it. And it sounds good. Like it's kind of in the tradition of what Giles Martin has been doing these days with Sam O'Kell and Paul Hicks. It's definitely got more, the vocals are more up front, the bass is more prominent, the drums are louder. Kind of what they're known for these days for their reissues. The back cover is interesting as well because this clock is something that George had picked up in 1997 in Rhode Island, and this story is in the little insert there. It comes with the record. But Olivia Harrison had taken this thing out and just put it on the mantelpiece to look at it. And then pretty recently after that happened, Paul called her and said, "Hey, do you remember that song Now and Then? You know, should we do that song?" And the clock actually said Now and Then on the clock. And she was like, "All right, well, that's George saying, yeah, go for it." So it's one of those nice little, that's a nice touch to have that on there. The front cover has been the absolute cause for discussion since the second we all saw it. Most people have not enjoyed this cover. A picture of the Beatles would have been cool. That little thumbnail that they put out for the music video would have been great with the four of them on. Perfect. Put that on, the four of them on there. Perfect. Great. Because this is definitely, there's a poignancy to the cover, yes, and a little bit of darkness, a little bit of happiness with the different blues. But we all thought it was a placeholder. Like, no offense to the artist, but we all thought it was a placeholder art until the real thing would come out. So it's interesting that this is what they chose for a Beatles release, especially for the last thing ever. And I've been like holding this up to mirrors. I've been like putting it backwards and upside down, trying to figure out like, oh, is there a mystery in the picture? Are they giving us, you know, here's another clue for you all. You know, who's the walrus still? So that's pretty interesting. But anyways, to wrap this video up, because I've been talking for about 8 times longer than the song actually is, it's a great song. It's the Beatles now. It's Paul being able to write a song again with his old buddy. It's Ringo joining in with these guys that he loved. They all loved each other. Hearing the camaraderie there is fantastic. You hear it more on Free as a Bird and Real Love just because George was alive at the time. And his input was much more there. You feel George much more in those songs. You definitely hear him on this track as well, but you don't necessarily pick up his like guitar playing as much. And the vocals, the background vocals are flown in from other songs that they already had. So, you know, that's a little different for them to release a song like that. But anyways, it's a great track. It accomplishes what it sets out to do. I like that Paul counts in 1, 2, 3, and you can barely hear the 4. And it's exactly what he did on the first song on the first album. So there he is there and bookending the career with this. And you hear Ringo very faintly at the end of the track. And for the life of me, I cannot make out what he says. I think he says one more or one or something. As in like just listening back to the take or something. If you know what he says, let me know. But for me personally, this song is a big deal. It's a big deal for all of us. But to be able to hear a brand new Beatles song in 2023, this is a very special time to be a fan. And historically, it's one of the biggest bands of all time. It's one of the biggest rock and roll stories of all time. So many artists have come and gone, and we never hear from them ever again. Here's the Beatles. Another new song. The story's not over. We might think it's over, but I don't think it's over. They say this is the last Beatles song. I think it's the last Beatles song for now. There's tricks up their sleeves. They have never given us everything. They've always left us wanting more. That's what the Beatles are known for. And it'll be interesting to see what comes next down the line. But as of right now, Paul and Ringo are with us, and they gave us this wonderful new music with their old buddies, John and George, and we are here to just enjoy it and listen to it and love it. There's been a lot of haters. There's been a lot of people saying it's a crappy song, it's a dirge, it's not fun, it's all AI. To each their own, of course, but get over yourselves. It's the bloody Beatles. Shut up. Now and Then, I give this thing a 10 out of 10, purely because it's the Beatles, it's new, I love it, I think it's a great song, the construction is there, you hear the camaraderie, you hear the friendship, you hear Paul wanting to sing with his old buddy again, you hear the emotion put into the playing. It's wonderful, and it's great that it exists. It's truly great. My name is Giggens. It has been an absolute honor to talk about a brand new Beatles song in 2023. What a year. New Zombies, new Stones, new Circle, and the Beatles. Why not? Why not? Just throw the Beatles in there. Come on, Beach Boys, where you at? Thank you so much for watching. What are your thoughts on Now and Then? What are your thoughts on the variants of the vinyl pressings? Did you get any? Did you get the cassette? Did you get the CD? What versions of this record have you got? Because they're really hard to find. You know, like, come on. It's the Beatles. There should be like 15 billion copies of this thing all over the place. Anyways, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care of yourselves. Thank you, Beatles. Thank you.